with the women, I work more onto them understanding the belief that they carry. So which kind of belief they carry that is actually holding them down. They might not think that those beliefs are holding them down. So what we do is we go through the assessment and we understand where they're at. And then what I work a lot with is creating that dream and creating the steps to achieve that dream. From there, we go into the anchoring. So I use modalities such as NLP and also EFT. NLP is really to kind of like anchoring the work. So you're doing the work, then I'm coaching you with the step-by-step on how to achieve it. Yes. But don't forget that we all carry some level of trauma. So therefore, the limiting beliefs are there. And also what happens is that we are carrying our subconscious. So our subconscious is actually what is driving us into action. So we always think that it's our conscious mind, but actually is our subconscious that is helping us go forward. So if you have limiting belief, doubt, overwhelm, stress, anxiety, worries, what happens is that the actions you're going to take are going to be really slower. And instead of leaping and really reaching into what should be yours, you're going to be stalling. And this is how I support women with EFT. EFT is a modality that is being created. It's actually it's a variant of like NLP mixed with acupressure points. Yeah. So it's tapping on certain point on our body to release this anxiety, to release everything. And what happens is that when you release it, what are you actually doing? You're actually accepting things. So for example, you're accepting that you feel guilt. Because you're feeling guilt, you've accepted it. What happens is that you are more able to release it. And then you tap on the point. And the more you practice this, the less you will feel the guilt. It's the same for the shame, it's the thing from anxiety, for overwhelm. And this is something that helps you kind of like, regulate your emotion and helps you also to go forward. Be less afraid and be able to go fearlessly and boldlessly into your calling.
I heard you did make mention of limited belief, and this is something that is very powerful among particularly our demography, African diaspora, but even among Africans. I'm not saying it is not among other people, but because that is the demography that we are concentrating on. I'm trying to understand, how did we get there? What is responsible for some of this limited belief that sort of held people back from what they want to achieve in life?
To be honest with you, actually, thank you so much for this question, because I spoke about it at a conference a few months ago. And I feel that our culture and our tradition is amazing. And not only amazing, I think that a lot of things have come in time that is created this kind of fear into people's minds. And this fear is actually as well like a domino effect is gone onto other things. So for example, I don't know if you know about that, but there's also science that shows that actually when you have fear or when there's things, it can also be given through generation. So you can pass it through your child. You can pass your anxiety through your child. So understanding that we come from a culture that has had a lot of trauma and a lot of generational trauma, you can imagine that this is passed along to other generations. And what happens is that instead of going away from the fear, what people tend to do, I mean, the majority tends to do, not everyone, is that we tend to carry on the fear. Yeah. So, for example, if you say to me, "Oh, Patience, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to go and fly and learn to fly a plane." Yeah. And then I'll say to you, "Oh my God, do you know that my neighbor went to that? He went to do exactly this and he died. And when he died, you know what happened? His mom died as well because she was so sad. Da, 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 da. And then you know what happened? You understand what I'm saying? You this basically we carry on the fear and we send it. So I think we spoke before, and I told you there was an example. I remember. So basically, I lived in Togo for a few years when I was a child. And when I got to Lomé, Lomé is next to the beach. So we went to the beach the first time I went there. I was like amazed. I was like, oh my God, it's beautiful and I love it. I want to go and jump in it. And automatically my aunt went like, no, 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 no. Don't go. If you go into the water, Mami Wata will come and get you. I was like, Mami Wata? Who is Mami Wata? So, but basically, Mami Wata, I'm not too sure if she does exist or not. And I'm sure the African community will know about Mami Wata. But basically, she's fear. She's basically fear. And it's fear that is being given again to, for example, a child. At the time, I was a child. And so I'm living with this fear. So my friend comes in. I'm like, no, 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 don't go to the water because in the water there's Mami Water and you're gonna disappear. You're not gonna come back. But it's basically maybe people who didn't know how to swim went into the water and drowned and they couldn't find their body. So that could be that as well. But also there's a lot of tradition around Mami Wata and what it signifies. So I don't want to go into too much about it
But
because
it's you can go. It is important
yeah,
because now you're talking of the origin behind some of this fear that people have. And I think
yes,
it is important that we talk about them. You see, it
yeah,
exists in nearly all the cultures in Africa. In my culture, for example, in Esan, which is the south of Nigeria, call we have a name for a monster. It's called Odudu. And the thing now, of course, when we are children, and we don't really understand the significance of this thing. We don't know what it means. But right from childhood, they begin to plant this idea in your head. And because this Odudu, or a monster as it were, of course, that would be the translation in English, you don't know what it looked like. Then you begin to form images around it. At the point you begin to really see it. Even though nobody really have any picture of it, nobody can really describe what it is to you, except that it is an epitome, it is a representation of fear. And but this fear
exactly.
now can be dangerous because later, if we don't decode it very well, then it begins to affect us negatively. So yeah, if there is anything you want to say more, that is, but also because as we were talking of Mami Water, I think what we should do in Africa is that we should explain to people enough. We should give them enough information about the thing that we actually do, so
Yes,
that they can begin to figure out things for themselves. Now, let's look at the mere common sense. If we continue to frighten people with Mami Water about water, now what is going to happen is that people are going to have negative feeling about water and about encounter with water and about going into the water because they believe that there is a monster inside the water. But if that is what is happening, how are we going to develop our marine? How are we going to
exactly.
develop people that are the underwater people that there are people that are a lot of life inside the water? If we never explore it, how are we going to know what it
Yeah,
is? Instead, we
yeah.
don't carry on this generational fear, transmission of fear to fear to fear. Nobody ever find out this Mami water. How does it look like?
Yes.
Please go.
Well, I love what you're saying because if I don't know if it's the same in Nigeria, but I'm just gonna go from my own experience. So basically, in whether in Togo, and I've seen it in my husband is from Ivory Coast. I've seen it into the Ivory Coast as well. Like tradition, when people live next to the water, they say, "Oh no, no, no! Those are the people who live near the water." Like the people who live near the water are like a different species. Sorry to say that, but basically that's what they say. Why? Because people who live around the water, they've been around the water since they were born. So they carry no fear about the water. So they will go and swim, they will go and know how to fish, they will go and take the little boats into the sea and come back and things like that. They don't have that fear, and because they don't have that fear, it's kind of like as if they were a little bit like an outcast. And this is something that I've noticed, like I said, not just in Togo, but I've noticed it also in Ivory Coast as well.